I sold a kidney for all of this. Okay, well, we are on the eve of the Wii U and the 3DS Virtual Store stopping the ability to add funds so you could buy those games. And I thought I'd come around to give my opinions when all this, we're hitting this new milestone and everything. And while I'll do so, I thought I would bring some of these games that you just saw and put them in my cases. Just to give some backstory, I do collect older Nintendo games after the Game Boy and 64 era, but I do have some Xbox and PS2 games in my collection because I grew up with that stuff. I mostly just focus on getting the games. If I get the case and the manuals for cheap, then it's just an added bonus. But I really just wanted these games I grew up with that I lost over the years, we either sell them for a newer console or just lost them on a road trip, or a friend just never gave them back. Now I'm going to go over about how I feel about each of these main platforms and how they're doing with game preservation, the retro market, how I see it, and possibly what can happen in the future. This isn't really scripted as much as I would usually do. So much stuff has happened from January to May with all these closures that it's hard to keep up with. Things like web stores shutting down, DMR issues, online games not working, possible third-party emulators. So this video probably is already outdated by the time you see it. Let's start with something simple. We're going to start with the Game Boy games. We're going to start with the Game Boy games. Because as you can see, I already have a lot of mine. These neat little things that I need to change the battery for, so I remember myself. Empty cases. Is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more. Math. Oh, I exactly have 4 more. Now, I was kind of debating even talking about this one. This is going to be PC games of Steam, Origin, EA, kind of that little area in the PC market. I'm not too worried about what's going to happen with them. Steam, or at least with Steam itself has been on the market for about a decade and they seem pretty solid. I'm still iffy on what's going to happen with stuff like developer stores like Origin and the Ubisoft store and the EA store, since their main thing has been we're going to bypass Steam and we can get through Steam. Hopefully they're like Steam and they'll last another decade or so. If not, that's going to suck. One game store we already seen this happen to is the Bethesda game store. I know I pronounced that wrong. Oh my god. And luckily with that, they are just transferring all the games to to Steam. Even though Microsoft owns them, they're still like, oh, we are not going to put them on the Microsoft store because we know Steam is the better platform. So it's a little too soon to even think about what is going to happen on the PC market. But I think we're pretty safe right now. It's mostly more for getting newer games, and newer games aren't really an issue at the moment. Some are getting delisted, but those delisted games are not really everyone's favorites compared to like a Kirby, for example. I still worry of what could happen if a Steam decides to go off. Will we be able to, keep those games? Or, like I said, an EA. Well, if EA decides to shut down, do we still get to keep those games or not? Or are those games just gone to time? So, I'm kind of worried about that. We'll see whatever happens with that. I was supposed to be talking while doing all this, but I'm realizing this is probably the noisiest one of them all. So that's how I kind of feel about PC at the moment. PC feels kind of safe. I'm not worried about anything PC related, but who knows? We could have an issue in the next couple of years of PC games just disappearing on us. So we'll see what happens. I was supposed to click. Make me look bad here, dude. Where'd you click in? Oh, now you click. There we go. Now you click. Let's talk about one of the three major console makers, and that is Microsoft with the Xbox. Right now, I think Microsoft is probably doing one of the best out of any of the other three. Maybe it's due to them being, starting the 6th generation, and all those games are easier to go back to and making them playable today. Or maybe Microsoft always had the thought of, hey, we're going to make these games accessible later on in the future. Sure, only about 60 out of about 900 of original Xbox games can be played on your new Series X. But things like the 360 has about 600 out of the 2,000 games that are backwards compatible. But some of those games gain graphical improvements, which is honestly pretty impressive. You know what? Sure. I just realized that one's awful. I just need to add it to this one, I think. Kirby, Zero Mission, Kirby, Metroid, Zelda. Yeah, I think we're good with that. Sure, they're mostly just first-party emulators, so it's not like the console's playing the game itself. When you put the game in, be like, oh, I know this, and I'm going to give you the emulator of this. So you're not actually playing what's on the disc, you're just playing one of their first-party emulators. But I still gotta give them credit where credit's due. The fact that I can get, Fable 3, a copy of Fable 3, plug it into my Xbox, and it gives me an emulator of that game is really damn snazzy. And also, I can still I have games that I purchased on my 360 through their online store that I can still pull up and play to this day and put on my Xbox. Again, that's just really kind of crazy that Microsoft is letting you do that with some of their games. So they're kind of the best with that. Until a couple of weeks ago, they had DMR issues that hit them. And it showed that the Xbox One might have more issues than we thought. So it sucks that I gotta be like, oh, Xbox is looking really good. Xbox is looking pretty snazzy. And then the whole entire DMR thing happens, and we're kind of back at we had these issues and we were worried about this at the beginning, guys. So now what's going on? So I think Xbox is doing a very good job, but at the same time, I'm worried what could happen. That's my concern. Now with Sony has been very bumpy on what they want to do here. Sony was very good with most PS2s playing PS1 games, and early models of the PS3 doing that, and then they just kind of killed out that function. Later PS3s and PS4s just couldn't do PS3 games at all or anything like that. And they almost killed the Vita and PS3 online store, which really sucked, but thankfully they listened to fans and were like, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to, we'll keep them alive, but you lose the PSP store. You lose the PSP store, no questions. And now they're letting, PS5s play PS4 games, and they're pretty good at remastering some of their popular games. Like, how many times have we seen a remaster for The Last of Us, a game I still haven't played, but I probably should. Plus, we have the PlayStation Plus, which gives us some older games to play for an arm and a leg. Join them, you brethren. You're the only DS game that I could find the manual. Where did I put you, Kirby? I found Kirby. He was in the 3DS games. I had a minor panic attack there. Honestly, I was honestly a little freaked out. Kirby, the only one I found a manual and original case for, and almost lost the game. Yes, PlayStation and PlayStation Plus. Cars cost an arm and a leg. However, we also had their attempt at the PlayStation Classic, which was very dividing for some people. Some people did like it, but they didn't give us, the best controller that's really known for the PlayStation. And there were some frequency responses for TVs that some people had issues with. And we're kind of questioning why they did it that way. The PlayStation now doesn't play PS3 games. It does, it emulates them from cloud service, which kind of makes me think that the whole entire PS3 genre is basically a lost generation of games that's going to be almost unpopular to even get. Like, I'm very concerned that we're not going to get, a Killzone remaster or anything like that, because I honestly believe that they just don't know how to remaster that game, and they don't know what to do with that. So that's also concerning. And then we also had that PlayStation thing where, for some reason, games decided to expire from 1973 or something like that, and people weren't able to re-download those games. So Sony has been very weird with how they want to emulate games or do backwards compatibility. They go back and forth, but generally they're good, I think. And we're gonna install my Kirby's. Let's do it like this. Maybe this thing was just this thing's too confusing for me to do it like this. I learn something new every day. And what I learned today is I suck at talking like this while thinking, because I just want to focus on this right now because I'm dumb. And now let's start talking about Nintendo. Oh boy, Nintendo. Nintendo is in a weird spot because I kind of want to defend them because they've been the longest players in this game. And they have to do a lot of games and bring them back. However, they've been pretty good at doing that, so I don't want to be too forgiving on them. But when we have things like the Virtual Console for the Wii, which is considered to be one of the best first-party emulators of older games, along with the classic lineup for the NES and the SNES, and then, we also have the 3DS and the Wii U VC that we have their other issues like the infinite darker graphics for the Wii U, but they were a good continuation from the VC store from the Wii. It's hard for me to criticize them. Like, a lot of their consoles kept bouncing back and forth of being backwards compatible or not. Again, the Wii was the first Nintendo console that was truly backwards compatible, but only for the GameCube, leaving 3 systems behind for it until that, VC launched when you got to buy all those games again, only a select few of them. And then the Wii U played Wii games, but not GameCube games unless you modded it. The Switch has no backwards compatibility, so now we have the NSO for it, which is another problem I'll get to in a bit. Their handhelds are even more annoying, as Game Boy games can only be played on the Game Boy Advance, but the DS can only play Advance games, and the 3DS can only play DS games. So each handheld just kept on leaving a generation behind. But again, the 3DS and the Wii U were able to pick up some of that slack with their VCs. I dropped one. And now I have to talk about the status of some of these older games, because some of them, like the Game Boy games and the Game Boy's Advance games, they are basically driven by a battery. So you can possibly lose all of your save data whenever you need to change that battery. If you ever want to save that game again, you better be prepared to lose that save that you already have. And I heard there are transfer ways you can do it, but it's just it's really annoying that you have to even do that in the first place. So Nintendo has always been a company that gives us something and then takes it away from us, unfortunately, which is really, really annoying. Just like me trying to figure out how I want to do this video like this. Now, I'm not going to say that I was always a Nintendo with the Wii U. I always believed in the Wii U or anything like that. I really wasn't. I didn't get the Wii U for a very long time until about a couple of years ago when I'm like, you know what? It's about time I get a Wii U, get some of those VCs, get some of those Wii U games that probably will never come to the Switch, and, get them. And I honestly think I'm fine with the VC for the Wii U and the 3DS closing. If they only gave us a appropriate replacement, which after that deleted post, it seems like they're not going to do that, which is very, very annoying, leaving us to go to mods or anything of that nature, which is just very annoying for us to do. The good thing about the Virtual Console was that we were able to own those games. Unless under extreme circumstances, they didn't take those games away from your console. Yeah, you might not be able to re-download those games at times or get them again, but the data's on your console and it's for you to take care of it. Compared to the Switch Online service, that is completely online. If you lose that, if they decide to take that away, that is completely gone. you are not going to get those things, let's say like another 10 years later, if they decide to retire the Switch and the NSO, like what they're doing with the Wii right now. And like I can buy Pokemon Red on my 3DS, keep it on my system till the day it dies, while NSO I'm tied to Nintendo deciding, hey, we're going to keep the service up until we decide not to keep the service up anymore. Again, it's a lot of what if, and if Nintendo does this. But I think we need to think about this because their recent history on game preservation has been very rocky, like I said. Like, look at their last physical way to own older games, the Classic system. The NES Classic was priced at $60, but now on Amazon it's about $200, with its younger brother not really faring as well either. Luckily, games like Super Mario 3D All-Stars is still something you get physically, but that game probably has a finite quality. To my knowledge, the game isn't being made anymore and won't be available to anyone else when that well dries, when it does. We also have Nintendo actively stopping people from getting these games digitally and doing all these copyright strikes and taking down these sites. And the only way we can get these games legit now is just this. These things are probably going to cost me a lot more in the next few days. I'm missing a Zelda. We're doing this again, huh? I thought I had these. Like, I know I'm missing something here. I know I'm missing some games. Something doesn't seem right at the moment. And thus we're kind of coming to where I'm really thinking is like not only were we losing a bunch of digital-only games, DLCs, and the virtual store, we could lose the power to transfer all these digital games to another system if both the Wii U and 3DS lose any internet connection to transfer from them. The Wii was really bad. You had to basically ship the console to Nintendo, I believe, to ask for your VCs to be put in that console. The Wii U, digital games and data are collected through connected for your digital account, your Nintendo Network ID. And you're going to have one Wii U to that account. And that transfer process is connected through the network ID and an internet connection. So at the moment, you just can't put you can't put all that stuff on a SD card and plug into a new Wii U. You need an internet connection to make that transfer. So if Nintendo decides one day, hey, we're just going to cut off support of those consoles connecting to each other and be able to transfer, those things are now stuck on that console and you can't get them out. 3DS is a little better. There's a way you can transfer your data without internet connection, but your digital games are still tied to your network ID, so unless you could transfer your network ID to your 3DS, you're still kind of in a bad situation. Now, thankfully Nintendo isn't planning to do anything that drastic quite yet. That's the thing, quite yet. But they eventually could do that if they really want to, if they really just want to get away with all that. They are slowly moving away from the Nintendo Network ID. The Switch doesn't use that system anymore, it uses something else. So we're already kind of seeing that process. We also had that interview a while back from that former Nintendo of America employee saying they've been waiting to kill off the Wii for years now, and they're finally able to do so. It's something about 10 years and avoiding lawsuits, I believe, from Japan. And of course, they're more talking about the Wii U and not the Virtual Console, but it's still it's not a very good sign when it comes to older games like that. Again, I think having everything connected to an online account and they decide to not support that online account service anymore, you're going to be pretty screwed with all those digital-only games just being gone compared to me holding this and being like, as long as this thing doesn't get stolen or destroyed, I can play that on a 3DS system as long as I can find it. Or, some people are very smart, they might make a whole new 3DS thing. They've done that for, the Analog Pocket Boy, where you can plug in your physical cartridges and the Game Boy game and play them that way. So maybe in the next few years we'll have this for the 3DS. I'm missing a Luigi. Am I? I had Dark Moon somewhere. How am I losing this many games? that explains it. I'm like, I know I have other games again. Gotta stop doing this. So at the end of the day, it's hard for me to be like, go to the virtual console before it closes to buy all these games because they might disappear. And then you gotta turn to physical games and the lovely retro market we're all now dealing with. And if you're a retro buyer, you probably know how much all I just showed you costs, and it's not fun. Don't rob me, please. Now we get to go to the discs and see how fucked I'm with my discs now. Something's already wrong. That's better. So now the retro market is becoming a bit of a mess, and if you have been trying to collect like a lot of these older games, especially like Nintendo games, you know how fun it's been getting them and trying to figure out what's real and what's not. Because eBay, unfortunately, is just riddled with a lot of these fake... That's a lovely sound. A lot of these fake and authentic buyers and sellers. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you can be easily ripped off. You can be like, ooh, that's a Pokemon Crystal for $10 compared to a Pokemon Crystal that's cost $100. I'm gonna get the $10 one. And then you find out, oh shit, this is a fake one. It doesn't save properly. It doesn't work properly. I can't move my Pokemon from this thing to that thing now because my Pokemon Crystal is not real. So again, if you don't know what you're looking for, you're getting kind of screwed. Like, for example, that's a fake version of The World Ends of You. I gotta bring out my real version. That's my real version of The World Ends of You. Now, this camera isn't the best for doing this, but to my naked eye, these two things look very similar. Same codes right there. The icons are a little different. But again, if you're not experienced enough, you're not going to know what's what. The main way I know of how they're good or bad is the backs and the tops. Usually the real ones have this little indent right here, this other little piece of plastic that sticks out. Well, this one's a little more smooth, and the numbers on these ones are a little bit not aligned while these ones are. So it's easier to tell when you have them in your hands. But if you don't have them in your hands, and you're just going based off pictures, you could be getting scanned for all you know. And again, I have more fake games. Now, some of them are easier to figure out. Like I said, these ones, they look real. I plug them into my 3DS, my new 3DS, and they play like regular games. So you can't put them in and be like that. Luckily, some of these more faker ones are easier to see, and it's, unless you're a dunce, you know that they're not going to be real. Like, this is definitely not a real game. And unfortunately, they don't play on the new 3DS XL, but they play on my regular 3DS, and even my regular DS Lite. So these things are kind of dangerous if you don't know what you're looking for, which sucks and which is very annoying. And I'm actually going to put them in the very back of my case as just kind of reminders of what they are and what they can do. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't sell bad games. And that's the thing. I think most sellers will be upfront with you, saying, hey, this is authentic, this is a repercussion, or a Rebo cartridge. But you never know at times, and I think if you're first getting to the market, again, you can see that Pokemon Crystal, compare it and be like, I'm going to get the cheap one, and then find out it doesn't really work. GameCube, if you want to talk about prices, GameCube is insane, and it's reaching critical mass at the moment. At least with GBA and N64, and some of the older games, I can suggest a VC if you want an official copy. But the GameCube has mostly been in this isolated area with very few games getting any releases, and is usually a remaster of some issues and or features that aren't present in the original release. And I've been going around to different local game stores to see how they've been doing and what they're selling, and it's honestly not that bad. I realize that has a sticker on it. I cleaned everything. It's very weird. Never seen a sticker on anything else, which is kind of surprised me. Anyways, So I've been going down to local stores and everything like that just to see how they're doing on prices. And most of them are doing okay. I'm actually not too scared of some of them. However, there's one game store in my area that is getting away with highway robbery in my personal opinion. And I'll show you why. This game of Pokemon Stadium, you probably can't see the price tag, but this thing I could probably get on eBay without this for about 30 to 40 bucks. And if you see that, that's about 70 bucks I paid for this used copy. I am in disbelief that they're charging 30 bucks more for that. And the sad thing is about the seller, they have like one of the best collections I've ever seen. And I think I know the reason why is because I honestly don't think they want to sell to people. So when you have sellers like that, it's just really discouraging. But luckily, these are two people. This is a seller I gone to. I know these games are probably around the market rate with their manuals and everything like that. But the place like this place, they give me a membership program if I pay like 30 bucks a year, and I get 10% off all used games, which is amazing. Another scample. This is Pokemon Coliseum, manual and everything for about 130 bucks. Yeah, that's insane. But anyways, this is probably around I probably got like $10 less than what I probably do for eBay for this kind of condition and everything, which is very nice. Like I said, it has the manual in there, the game, original discs and case and everything like that. So the fact I got this for probably about 10, maybe 15 bucks cheap when I go into a local store, it's nice. It's just when I get these, I start to worry about who's being greedy and who's not being greedy, who's actually giving you to the consumer. Another quick note is the fact that GameStop is slowly getting out the game of doing this, which is kind of insane. And I get why. It's mostly because the higher ups don't see profit in it. But you know what? I've been going to GameStop stores lately, and I don't think I can get any. I don't think I can turn any of these games in anymore for anything. And their stock is they just want to get rid of their stock as quickly as possible, which is kind of crazy to say about GameStop. So let's get these done with. I'm almost done with my video, guys. See, I wanted to talk and do this at the same time. However, me doing complete sentences and not just being a total idiot and rambling like randomly and talking to myself without a good point, it's a little bit harder than I expected. I'll put all these games in their correct place a little bit. Because the last thing I want to talk about is, why not go emulation, you ask? Well, to be honest, I just prefer first party and the actual games. I just don't like it if a game is kind of improved by a emulator, like they fix the frame rate or something like that. I honestly just want the game and the experience of how the game developer gives it to me. If I want to look for a fix, then I'll go to the fix, but it's harder to find almost this than the fix, to be honest. And I will admit, doing this way is a lot more costly, but I can afford it. I'm well off enough that I can do stuff like this. You honestly want to know how much I spent in one night to catch up on some of this stuff, because I was too worried about how the market's going to explode. But not everyone can do how I did it. And I'm not going to say don't emulate. If you emulate, you're pirating the game, you're not giving it to the developer. If that's how you can only play those games, then do it. But that's just not my thing. I just don't emulate. It kind of sucks that game developers are making people pirate the games or dodge fake copies or pay a shit ton of money to get games that they want and love to play. It's really annoying that we're kind of in this state, but that's how it is. So now what? And I honestly do not know. If Nintendo's going to be Nintendo with this, like there's a rumor of a Game Boy emulator, but who knows if that's real, along with rumors of a 3DS, along with the rumors of a Zelda 3D collection with the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess games, for example. But who knows if that's actually going to happen. Sony and Microsoft have their issues, but I'm not really part of their ecosystem, so I can't really say much on them as much as I did. Luckily, some people are doing their best with the emulation, so people can play these games a little bit easier. And like I said, I've been kind of doom and gloom for a bit, but some companies are doing what they can and making it so we can play these games, even if it's not the way we want to play them. But with the 3DS and Wii U stuff, all I can say is, let's see how bad this gets. I worry a lot of these games are going to double in price in the next few weeks or even months, unless we get a legal alternative. But for now, we're kind of both in eBay's and Nintendo's hands, which really sucks that a game like this, I think it was $30 I got it for, could go to maybe 60, just because there's no other option to go. I don't know what's in here, but I know that's gonna go. But there's Twilight Princess for the Wii U. This probably could go for $100. Who knows, honestly? We're kind of in a weird state where we just don't know how much these games could cost because they're only on these platforms. So we just gotta enjoy the ride while it goes. That's all I can really say. It kind of sucks ending the video like this, but that's where we are at the moment. Boop. Hi there, and welcome to the end card. If you somehow made it through this difficult mess, I really appreciate you joining me on this little experiment that I am doing of doing videos like this for a bit to see how this kind of is and how I respond to it. I've been really wanting to do a little discussion about 3DS and not 3DS, just the whole market in general of old games and new games and everything like that. So I just kind of want to get my thoughts about it and doing something like this. Who knows, maybe I'll do another video like this again. I might not, but again, I'm really interested to see what's going to happen when the store closes. Because when the store closes, I'm honestly predicting just games just going out the same. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to feel bad for a lot of people who don't have the chance to get these games and try to grab them, but we'll see what happens. Maybe, and another nice little thing of me doing this is maybe you'll get your game a little sneak peek of videos I might make. You know, one of these games. Yeah, only one of these games I'm making a video of this year, and I don't think you'll know which one it is. So, but yeah, 2 videos in a row, 2 videos in a span of 1 week, maybe 3 videos in 1 month. We'll see what happens, but I'm happy. I'm encouraged to do a lot more stuff now. I'm living a little more healthier life, so I can't wait to see how this video does, if it does anything, but we'll see what happens, guys, so catch you later.